Did you know that when you sell a house, you don't have to pay income taxes on it legally? I'm going to show you a way to not only do that, but also quadruple the amount of assets you have, quadruple your cash flow, and get back more money than you put in to the 1031 exchange when you sell your house. Now, look, I don't know where the economy is going. There is no one alive that knows where the economy is going. There's nobody at the White House, and there's no talking head on television that knows the answer to that question. I believe we're going to head into a recession. And I also believe that if one wants to sell their house for cash, now's the great time to do it before that economy changes. I've been through 6 cycles in my 40 years, and I'm probably in my 7th cycle right now. Prices go up, don't come back down. They always do. Over time, everything levels out, but then there's really bad times and there's really good times. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I know we are at the top of the market or very close to it. Now, that's my valued opinion, which is just as valuable as any talking head on television, which basically means it's absolutely worthless. All right. But if you share the same opinion and you decide you want to sell your assets now, you better be very close attention to what I'm about to show you, because your CPA don't know it, your attorney don't know it. Okay, they understand you can do a 1031 exchange, but they don't understand what I'm about to show you. So, Nick, I'm going to put this on the overhead if you can get me hooked up here and they can see it. Guys, you better be prepared to take a screenshot of this right now, because you're going to want to study it. And incidentally, you're probably going to have questions on it. So, Nick, can you put the link up here so that they can get questions in? If you can go to ask@ronlegrand.com and get your questions answered on this. There you go. Thank you. I'm sorry, you email ask@ronlegrand.com. Get your questions answered, and I'll get back to you very, very quickly. All right. Now, first of all, let's say that you own a house now. Now, this does not apply to your residence, okay? This only applies to non-owner occupied properties. You can't exchange your residence, nor do you need to. Probably won't pay taxes on it anyway. But let's say I'm selling a house that is worth $300,000, and that house is producing $100 a month positive cash flow. Now my tenant buyer calls me and tells me they're going to cash me out. I know I'm going to get a check for about $100,000. So knowing this, I've got to decide, do I want to take that 100 grand and pay taxes on it? Albeit it's probably long-term capital gains, still got to pay a bunch of that money out in taxes. Or do I want to legally avoid paying those taxes and increase my portfolio of properties simultaneously? And I'm sure the answer is probably number 2. So let's see what happens. When I know I'm going to get paid here, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find 3 other houses that I can buy with owner financing. And that is the key. I'm going to buy these 3 houses with owner financing, and I'm going to use the $100,000 coming out of this to put up down payments on these 3 houses. You will not have any trouble finding houses that you can buy with owner financing if you're putting up big down payments on them. That I can promise you. We buy them all the time with nothing down. They're a whole lot easier to buy with big down payments. And I got to get rid of this 100 grand. So in my simple example here, I'm going to put out exactly $100,000 and I'm going to, for down payments, and I'm going to go buy one house worth $300,000 and give them a $25,000 down payment. I can do that all day long. I'll buy another one that's worth $600,000 or $500,000 and give them a $50,000 down payment. That's 10% down, for crying out loud. And I'll buy another one worth this one's $600,000, that was $500,000, and give them another $25,000 down payment. So I've got rid of $100,000 and I've acquired $1.4 million worth of houses. Let me say that again. The 100 grand has to go into the hands of an intermediary. The intermediary is going to be part of this closing and all 3 of these closings. The intermediary will send the down payment to the closing agent under all 3 of these. So your job is to go put 3 houses under contract to buy with owner financing. And you've got 45 days after this house sells to do that. However, if you're smart, when you get wind this one's going to sell, you'll go out and get the contracts on these 3 houses. And you could be 30 days closing this one, So now you got that 30 days plus another 45 days. You got 45 days to name these three houses after this house sells. You got 180 days to close on them. You won't need that. If these houses are under contract before this house even closes, then I'll close these three immediately after. That 100 grand goes into the intermediary's account, and then they will send the money to close on these three. Now, look what happens. Obviously, if I buy these three houses on Planet Ron, I'm going to put a lease option tenant buyer in them. And number one, if I've got a $300,000 house, that's about a $30,000 non-refundable deposit I'm going to get from the tenant buyer. And I have been doing that long before this hot market. I shoot for 10% every time I put a tenant buyer in a house. The nicer the house, the easier it is to get to 10%. Frankly, the higher the price, the easier it is to get to 10%. So on this one, I got a house worth, let's see, on this house, I'm going to get a $75,000 deposit because it's a $600,000 house. That won't be difficult to get. And I'm going to get an $800 a month positive cash flow. Number one, I'll get a $300 a month. Which on this one, I'll get an $800 a month, which is about normal in this price range house. So now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to lease option this one out. I'm going to get a $50,000 deposit on this $500,000 house, and I'll get a $500 a month cash flow. Now, these are very conservative numbers. Okay, if you've never seen this before, honestly, when you get into these price ranges, remember, we are putting tenant buyers in these houses that cannot qualify at a bank. That's 70% of the people who would like to buy a house can't qualify. They're all our market. As long as they got a big deposit, we'll take them. And by the way, the worse the economy gets, the worse a recession gets when it comes, the easier it is to sell these because the less people can qualify at a bank. Okay. Also, the easier it's going to be to buy these because sellers are going to get more motivated. Right now, we can do it right now in a hot market. I know darn well we can do it when the market changes. I have done it before in the past in all the cycles. Never been a cycle where we couldn't buy and sell houses in all my 40 years. So look what happened. I'm now getting $1,600 a month, where I was getting $300 a month. I now have $1.4 million worth of houses where I only had a $300,000 house. I now have $155,000 from these three deposits, cash in my hand, which means I gave up the 100, but I got back 155,000. I made more money than I put into the exchange. Guys, listen, once these three houses close, the purchase, the exchange is over. This is your money. It doesn't go to the intermediary. It goes in your pocket. You keep it. You can do whatever you darn well please with it because these are non-refundable option deposits. If these tenants buy, they just get credit toward their purchase price. If they move, they forfeit the deposit signed off on in front of an attorney. And here's another cool part. When you die, when the last to die, husband and wife, these assets will go to your children with a stepped up basis, which means they get to start from the beginning and they don't have to suffer all the depreciation for all the times you've had this. You got three houses you're going to depreciate, three houses they're going to appreciate. Your cash flow went through the roof. Your debt service is going to be paid down on these houses. You get all the benefits of owning real estate, a lot more money than you started with, a lot more cash flow than you started with because of one strategic move your CPA will not know. Play this lesson back again. And if you have questions, ask at ronlegrand.com and I'll get them answered for you. By the way, if you want to learn how to go about buying these houses with owner financing, which is 95% of what I do nowadays, called the terms business, you'll hit the link below and that'll take you to a 90-day online seminar on step-by-step on exactly how myself and thousands of my students are doing it out there every single day. By the way, in any market, in any state, and in any economy, always going to be people who need to sell, always going to need people to buy, always sellers who are willing to take terms, always buyers who cannot qualify for loans. It's been that way for the last 40 years of my career, and whatever happens in the future is not going to change that. People always need a place to live. Real estate is one of the most stable commodities you could actually do business in today. So hit the link and I'll see you on. And by the way, this lesson is also on my Gold Club site. You can go to ronsgoldclub.com, become a member. It's only $59 to become a member. You get a whole massive amount of benefits. I'll let you go there and see all about them. And there's no long-term contract. This lesson is on there, along with hundreds of other lessons that we've done over the years to address subjects just like this. So hit the link below. Spend a little time with the old guy here. You might learn something.